Sa dudes, how y'all doing tonight? So obviously we usually have a full stream on Sunday nights. It was Father's Day. Aiden and I both had stuff to do. I personally have a stepdad and a dad, so I had two Father's Day celebrations I had to get to. There was just no way we were going to get anything meaningful done tonight. So I was originally not going to say do anything tonight. It was just going to be taking it easy, relaxing. But since yesterday, Aiden and I have been reading through the comments on our Tartaria video, and he's watched the response video from Mind Unveiled, and he's told me I should be very excited about it. But the reason I'm doing this stream is partially to address some stuff that I saw that I think is important to bring up, but also to address the thing that's kind of catching me the most flack right now, which is that I said that the theory is anti-Semitic, and I said specifically that Mind Unveiled was being anti-Semitic with his theory, and I want to address that one first because there's a good chance that if people from his channel do in fact watch this video or are in here in the room right now, that they might be looking at that and thinking, oh my god, this is a cop out. He's just throwing racism in to deflect and blah, 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 blah. Those of you who watch my channel know that that's absolutely not how we do things here. But the reason that I said it's anti-Semitic is as follows. And maybe I will tell you this right now. I reached out to Mind Unveiled to ask him some questions, but we'll see if he responds. The point is, in that video, and those of you who watched mine probably know this, I said this, but if you haven't watched his original video in response to Charlie, Moist Critical, he says, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit because I don't have the quote up in front of me, but he essentially says that the Hebrew language was a dialect of Old Irish that was spoken only by the Irish priestly class. That was when the Catholic Church took over and hijacked the Irish religion to turn it into Christianity, as he says they did, that they took the Hebrew language and reassigned it to a group of people in the Middle East, in Syria. Now, of course, Israel is not in Syria, but that's not the point here. The point is that what he is doing in saying that is completely and totally invalidating the entire history of the Jewish people. Why is that a problem? It might not be for you. You might not see that as an issue. Personally, as somebody who cares quite a bit about culture and history and tradition, whether it's my own or somebody else's, I don't like that, and I also don't like what it implies. Especially all of the stuff that happened in the past that the Jews had to go through, all of that being denied, the horrible, horrible mistreatment of those people, and what he's doing, though he's not saying it, is he is validating the conspiracy theories that suggest that a group of Europeans basically took over Judaism and pretended to be the Jews and now have recreated Israel. This is a common anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. Now, we'll say this much. I do believe that Mind Unveiled is so wildly off track that there is a possibility that he is not actually anti-Semitic. He's just so deep in the tartar sauce. He is so lost in the tartar sauce that he does not realize why that comes across as anti-Semitic to some people. I also want to mention something that came up in the comments as well. Some people accused me of being, and I'm not even kidding here, the word that was used was a crypto Jew. I had to actually look that up because I didn't know what it meant. It does not mean a Jewish person who's into Bitcoin. It means a Jewish person who is white passing, has a European name, and is secretly, internally, in their private life, Jewish, practicing Judaism. And using their white passingness to in some way trick people into believing that white people also agree with some sort of Jewish conspiracy narrative. That is wildly anti-Semitic. I found out in April that I am 3.8% Jewish. Being 3.8% Jewish is not it's not a significant part of my identity. It was something I was like, that's cool. I wonder who married a Jewish person in my family. I wonder where that came from. So I don't really think of myself as Jewish. I think of myself who has a Jewish great-great-great-grandparent somewhere. I am, for all intents and purposes, I am a white American Christian. That is what I am. They also seem to think that I'm some sort of like hardcore leftist, and that, I mean, I never get into politics on this channel, at least not beyond criticizing like the ATF or the FBI. But I think for those of you watching, it should probably be pretty clear that I am not a progressive. I'm not really a political radical in most ways. I'm not going to get into what my political beliefs are, but suffice to say, I'm not like a far leftist. That does not apply to me. That's not what I am. I'm more closely aligned with classical liberal values. So, and that's not to say modern democratic values. That's to say classical liberal, the Enlightenment era philosophy of the Enlightenment era political philosophy is the word I'm trying to use. So when I called him anti-Semitic, it was not a cop out. It was to say that yes, in fact, this conspiracy theory is anti-Semitic. Now, you may not think that being anti-Semitic is a bad thing. Personally, I think prejudice based on any race is a bad thing. But whether you're being prejudiced against blacks, whites, Jews, Hispanics, it does not matter to me. If you are looking at somebody and judging them solely based on their racial demographic, I find that reprehensible. So, it may be that Mind Unveiled himself is not in any way anti-Semitic and really doesn't realize why his words are having that effect on people. But if I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, I think it would be important for him to take that and internalize it and say, the way I'm wording this is leading people to believe that I don't like Jewish people. Maybe I should adjust my wording. And I'll read you off exactly what I asked him really quick. If you'll give me a moment to find the message. So he shared this thread, this part right here. He shared this in his video, his response video, which I haven't watched. Aiden's just sent me a few screenshots. I'm going to be watching it and reacting to it live on Twitch. I assume that some of Mind Unveiled supporters are in here. I haven't taken a look at the chat yet, but I assume that some of Mind Unveiled supporters are in here. If you want to watch me go point by point through his video criticizing me and see how I respond before simply assuming things about me, because I know a lot of you didn't watch my video. I can tell from the comments, because you're saying things that are directly refuted by things I say in the video, and not in uncertain terms. So if you want to come watch and you want to ask me questions and you want to argue with me, you want to try and get me, I will be in there. I will be looking at the chat. I will be taking questions from people. I will be making sure that your voices are heard, but I will most likely be arguing with you because I think you're wrong. That said, I am inviting all of you to come challenge me. I will be civil, I will be kind, and I will try to do this in the most respectable and respectful way possible. I want to be civil, and I want you guys to understand that I don't dislike you. I don't think you're stupid. I just think that there's a severe amount of misinformation out there about history, and I want to write it because personally, I do believe that there are lost civilizations. I do believe that Atlantis is not some sort of allegorical concept that Plato came up with, but rather something that was a legitimate story that he had heard about throughout his life, and possibly something that actually, in some sense of the word, I don't think that Athens defeated them, because obviously not, but I do believe that there was some sort of civilization, whether it be, early Copper Age, late Neolithic, or even into the Bronze Age. I think that that's possible. I also think that Graham Hancock is onto something. I am constantly arguing with academia. I understand that the version of me you got from Mind Unveiled might seem like a typical normie historian. That's not what I am. The reason I have 228,000 subscribers as of recording this video is that I'm not a boring mainstream historian. So if you want to give me a chance, come and watch the response video with me and talk to me. That's what I'm asking. I also would like to say that I am happy to have Mind Unveiled live on the Lore Lodge show. I will sit there and I will be calm. I will be respectful. I will discuss. It won't even be a debate. It will be okay, so here's what I'm curious about. You said this. What did you mean by that? What is your evidence? Okay, here's why I agree or disagree. That would be the format. So, Mind Unveiled, if you get wind of this video, I will also send you an email saying this same thing. Mind Unveiled, if you would like to come on the show and have a live discussion, I am inviting you to do that. I will even do it on your time. It does not have to be our normal Sunday show. It can be a special. We can move it for you. If you want to criticize, if you want to discuss, I'm here for it. Let's go. Argue with me. Go for it. I'm happy to do it. I am confident. I do not have a problem. And so long as you're not actually, if I am wrong about the way that you have presented Jews, I will happily say so. I would prefer to be wrong. I genuinely would prefer to be wrong, because that means you're not a bad person and you and I can just have a kind and civil disagreement. Now, that said, I'm gonna start taking questions and reading chat. But I wanted to get that stuff out of the way because it seemed important to me, for my own credibility, as well as to say, you know what, maybe I did go too far in saying that this is anti-Semitic. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was just misunderstanding what you were saying or misinterpreting how you were saying it. That was the feeling I got in the moment. A bunch of people from your side of things have come into my comments and said that as Jews, they don't feel like you're anti-Semitic. So if that's the case, I apologize. But, you know, I would like to have it explained, but I did forget to read what he said. So after I was very honest and said, you know, basically, I don't know why you're thanking me. I find your views on Jews reprehensible. I sent him another video, or another text message. And what it says is, before I do my reaction, because I want to be fair, I do need to ask you your opinion on a couple of things. Do you believe that the Jewish people of today are the Jewish people of antiquity? Do you believe that the Holocaust happened? Who, in your opinion, are the Native Americans? Where did they come from? Because, of course, we're told that the Tartars built everything in the United States. So, if that's true, who are the Native Americans? Where did they come from? When did they get there? Those are my questions. I also told him, a bunch of your followers are in my comments saying that I'm a crypto Jew and that I'm pretending to be a white Christian to spread Jewish lies. Also, if you'd like to come on and discuss live, we'd be happy to host you. If that comes across to you guys as unfair, I don't know what to say. But that is the message I sent him. I am genuinely interested in having a conversation about this. As for why I chose Mind Unveiled, I asked the Tartaria subreddit, and a lot of people asked in the video why I chose Mind Unveiled. And I say, in my video, I asked the Tartaria subreddit. So I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. I'm just like, come on, guys. But yeah, with that out of the way, let's take a look over at some of the chats and questions and see if I can snag something good. Take a look through those super chats first, because for the Tartaria people who don't, if you're in here from Mind Unveiled, if you don't know the way that we do the show always, and I wasn't going to do it this way, but I forgot to say something about it at the beginning. What we do on the show on Sunday nights, it's a live show. It's how we support the company, is we take super chats first. We answer those questions first, and then if we have time, we get to non-super chat questions that are interesting. So I'm going to look through and you know, see what we've got in the super chat department, and then I'll start looking through other sort of, you know, normal, regular comments to see if I like anything. But as for this show, guys, those of you who have sent super chats, I'm super grateful. Thank you so much. But let's just keep this to be a free stream for the night aside from that. From Ben Krajniak, we have Tartarussi, of course. From Mental Hedgehogs, we've got Happy Father's Day, Lore Father. And if you could pass on a Happy Father's Day to Wendigoon for all of us, that would be great. God bless you. I'll let him know. Agamemnon's Gym Bag said, I listened to Dude's entire response video this morning while fixing the mower. What a ridiculous wild ride that was. I will say this much. In the video, he apparently says that he doesn't think I'm even a real Freemason. I was in Pennsylvania Freemason in, like, September. Like, the Grand Lodge knows who I am. That was a weird one. Like, come on, guys. And then Heavy Burnman said, the Tartar Russians want to open up Earthussy to unveil the secret tussy of lost civil lussies. Heavy Burnman, I'm going to need to ask you to never say any of those words again. And I'll get this one last one because it just came in. But Fandom Maniac said, I grew up in the Mormon church, and the Weird Bible has been fun to listen to because they believe in it, but I rarely heard about most stories in the Old Testament. I was also taught Bigfoot is Cain. Really? That is fascinating. But let's see. Let's look through. Okay. Those are all just comments. Okay, Lord Log, of course. Oddly enough, tartar sauce and tartary apparently have entirely different etymology. Like, they're not connected, which is, I was surprised by that. Or at least according to etymology online. Maybe not. But developer said, who is Adrian, your boyfriend? I don't know an Adrian, but if you mean Aiden, as in Aiden Thornbury, the co-host of this channel, you're making it very obvious that you didn't watch any of the channel before commenting. Just saying. Like, this is the part that makes me sad. Like, I'm not asking you guys to, like, believe everything I say, but if you're gonna scream at me, at least watch more than one video. Let's see. Let's see. Questions. Any questions? See, this is why we do the super chats too, is because it's hard to find the questions in here. All right, Plaz, fair enough. Hadrian did turn Judea into Syria, Palestine. That's a good point. What else do we have here? WCMW and FAB said definitely should work together unless you had an agenda. My agenda is history. I don't agree with him. I think he's wrong. There is no agenda. Let's see. What else do we have? Anti-Semitic, LOL, dude, grow the hell up. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, the crypto Jew thing was funny. They compared you to Seth Rogen, but you're actually funny. Adam Berkeley, like I said, I don't say everything is racist. In fact, I get criticized often for not being harsh enough on the Americans for how we handled the Native American issue. Like, I'm regularly attacked for not being left-wing enough. So go for it, I guess. Let's see. You are progressive for US standards. That is laughable. That is hilarious. That is very funny to me. I've literally never voted for a left-wing party in my life. I vote libertarian most of the time, actually. I'm sure you knew crypto means hidden. I knew that crypto as a word has a meaning. I didn't know what crypto Jew meant. I don't really play, I don't really experience those terms very often in my life. Let's see. Aiden being hardcore left, the boy doesn't even believe in aliens. You're right, JD. I do criticize the WF all the time on this channel. I hate the WEF. Like, I really don't like them. You sure come off as a leftist with this nonsense. I mean, maybe if you... okay. All right, sure. History happened is a left-wing opinion now. Also, can I ask a question for the people in the stream who are on the Tartaria's real side? How does saying that Tartaria isn't real make somebody a leftist? Was it just the anti-Semitism comment? Or was there other stuff? Because I'm genuinely curious what about that video gave you the impression that I was like some sort of commie propagandist. Let's see. Usually people that are into conspiracies are far right. I don't even agree. Personally, I don't think that's true. I think that there are certain conspiracy theories that are associated with the far right. But, I mean, I guess... I think it's that the types of conspiracy theories that right-wingers tend to believe in are often more publicized. There are definitely some conspiracy theories that the left believes in that just don't get talked about. But yeah, I guess I would agree that it's typically more right-wing, but not necessarily far right to believe in conspiracy theories. I mean, I don't think it's far right to say that the CIA killed Kennedy. They did. I'm very prejudiced against the ATF. I will not apologize. Let's see. What else do we have? You can't be leftist and like guns. What? That's actually true. A lot of the actual like hardcore leftists do like guns. Let's see. That the Rat's Blade, that is kind of what I've been noticing here, and that is why I'm trying to get people. That the reason I made a video in the first place was because I was like, wait a second, what is this theory? Like, because for me, what I had heard was the maps part. I didn't know how deep it went. So when I tried to figure it out, I was like, man, there's really nothing here. So then I asked the Tartaria subreddit, I was like, who has a good summary video on this? And they sent me to Mind Unveiled. And so I did that. And then all the people commenting on my video telling me I'm wrong have not said why I'm wrong. They've just told me I am. Which again, please explain. I will, if you come to me with an argument, I will engage. I will do that. Not a certain other channel on this site that we've criticized for agreeing to come on my show and then telling me to watch all of his playlists and then ghosting out on us. Let's see. The mud flood thing too. I'm like not entirely sure where that one's coming from, because the only evidence that's been presented to me is the quote unquote buried cities, which of course all have documented explanations for why those pictures exist. And I'm not trying to sound snarky here. It's a little funny to me, because I was researching it and I was like, oh, okay, all of these pictures have completely rational explanations. There's one that shows a building behind a hill that looks like it's being dug out of the hill. Now, of course, this is in Kansas City in 1871, I think. Kansas City, 1871. Thing about Kansas City is initially it was just a rather narrow rock shelf that made a really good ferry landing spot and transport landing spot. So they set up a ferry there, they set up a port there, but you couldn't get very far into the hills because very quickly you saw a significant incline, and most of that was just, I think, loam. That was, silt, basically. So they had to clear out these hills to expand the city. In order to build more of Kansas City, they had to excavate the hills. But one of the pictures is, and I found an article that has all the pictures, by the way, from that photo shoot, so to speak, from people documenting the building of Kansas City. And what that picture shows is a hill that is being dug out, and then behind the hill is a building. It kind of looks like the building is being dug out of the hill, but then when you go and reverse image search it and you find the articles on what was going on in Kansas City at the time, it makes complete sense. And when you look at it, it doesn't make any sense that a building that they had just freshly started digging out of the dirt would have a clean facade. It would be covered in dirt and mud and grime. We're talking about a time before power washing. Like, it would be very difficult to clean off an entire building by hand. And you wouldn't do it piecemeal. You would dig the whole building out first and then wash it off. Let's see. There are, that said, there are parts of the Tartaria conspiracy that I think you should look into, like the giant cover-up. If you're talking about the Smithsonian, I think it's the 1908 or the 1918 Bureau of Ethnology report, where they found a number of burials where you had somebody who was like 6.5 to 7 feet tall, surrounded by normal-sized, like 5'8", 5'10" bodies. And the Smithsonian put it into a report and then just kind of buried that in the archives. If that's the one you're talking about, I have looked into that. And I'm genuinely curious. Like, I think that's an interesting one. I think calling it a cover-up might be going a little bit too far, because the information is still readily available on the internet. You just have to know where to look for it. But it does interest me, and I'm wondering why that was not ever investigated. At the time, we didn't have DNA, but we have DNA analysis now. Why haven't we tested those bones to see if they're more than human? I would love to see that. And for those of you who are here who are not familiar with our channel, my opinion on Bigfoot, for example, is that there was another race of hominids, or perhaps a tribe of humans, that got separated over a very long period of time to the point where they developed significant morphological differences from modern anatomical humans, and that's what Bigfoot is, that these Saskets that the Coast Salish people talk about in British Columbia and in Washington, that those Saskets, those tall, hairy, very fast, very strong creatures that live out in the mountains, who live in caves and roll boulders in front of them, that were documented by J.W. Burns in 1927, that's my opinion on that, is that Bigfoot could be real. So again, I'm not the mainstream historian, boring normie you think I am. So yeah, but Plaz, if that's what you're talking about, let me know, because I did look into that when I read through the reports. Let's see. A whole 228 subscribers, 228K, 228,000. You're on the channel, sir. Europe from 400 to 1400 AD didn't exist either. I see that one a lot. I don't know how to be nice about that one. I really don't. I'm trying. But the amount of artistic, musical, literary, and linguistic progression that occurred in that 1,000 years could not have occurred in a couple decades. It's impossible. There's also a ton of other reasons why that's impossible. Like, I would also point out that the Arabs have recorded history. The Chinese have recorded history. Southern Native Americans, like the Mayans, the Mesoamericans and the South Americans, have recorded history. A number of other Asian countries have recorded history. India has recorded history. There's oral histories from all over the world. I'm sure there's places in Africa that have recorded histories of themselves. I mean, it's just, in order for that to make sense, you'd have to assume that the Catholic Church alone managed to rewrite the entire history of the world, and they were so effective at it that countries that aren't even Catholic played along. In fact, countries that are directly hateful of Catholics played along. It just doesn't make any sense. What happened to the Tartaria episode? It's still up. Just subscribe to them and unsub from you. Good luck, buddy. I don't believe you were ever subscribed to me then. I don't. And if you did, okay, cool. Have fun. And yeah, Agamemnon's gym bag, that's, thank you for pointing that out. He explicitly said he won't debate me. So I'm not, like, the other thing that I saw on a lot of those comments was people coming after my education credentials and being like, oh, you know, Penn State, that's a glorified community college. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Penn State is like the best university in the world and you can't possibly criticize it for anything, but it is 77th in the country and 93rd in the world. And Mind Unveiled doesn't have a history degree. So if you're going to come after me for my credentials, at least be, like, reasonable about it, I guess. I'm not going to ever tell you that I am the expert in history. I'm not, but I do like to do my research. I do like to go and look at these things. And I do have the training and the skills. That said, if you want to come at me with actual things that I got wrong, please do. Part of the reason I'm doing this stream is to say, I would love to confront something that I've gotten wrong. Please, if you have something that you can show me evidence for, tell me what it is. Because I've gotten into entire threads with people in the comments section, and you can go see this for yourself. I've gotten into entire threads in the comments section where people have said I'm wrong, and I've said, what did I get wrong? And they've said, you got the whole thing wrong. And I'm like, no, give me specifics. What did I get wrong? And they just dip out of the conversation. Now, maybe they just didn't check their notifications, but the problem is I never have anything. But like, I never get anything from them. Bro, if you want to know if I'm a liberal, come on, man. Like, it's just watch the show. Or don't. Let's see. Let's see. What's this one? Why do we see the Jews in the middle of many conspiracy theories? Why don't we see other religions and cults involved in conspiracy theories? Because there's anti-Semitic people who insert the Jews into all these conspiracy theories. Like, what? All right, hang on. Let me try and put this together. All right. So people say that the Jews are in control of the banks and that they're trying to keep control of the banks, right? Why are the Jews in control of the banks? Well, first of all, there's plenty of banks that aren't run by Jews. But what happened was in the Middle Ages, the Catholic Church outlawed usury. Usury being money lending for profit. If you can't money lend for profit, there's not a lot of good reasons to lend money because you're just risking your money. You might not get it back. So Europeans, Christians, were not allowed to lend money for profit, right? Who was? Well, the Jews. So the Jews set up banks. The Jews lent money. The Jews made money lending money. And this made a lot of Jews very, very wealthy. There were other jobs that European men didn't really like doing. The men who had the money didn't like going and doing jobs like being doctors or lawyers. They didn't want to be surgeons. They wanted to be warriors or they wanted to be bishops. They wanted those jobs. So the people who were lower class and didn't have the money to afford an education, they couldn't become doctors or lawyers. Who could? The guys with money from running the banks. So they became doctors and lawyers as well. So all of the things you're mad at Jews about for how they're like, in control of those industries, thank your ancestors. It's their fault. Your European ancestors didn't want to be doctors. So now there's lots of Jewish doctors. And you know what? I'll say this. If they're good at it, what's the problem? What is bad about that? I really don't have any issue with there being Jewish doctors and lawyers and bankers. That doesn't bother me. It shouldn't bother you either. Especially when the WEF is out there and it's not being run by Jews. Like, Klaus Schwab was the son of a Nazi. Well, not a Nazi. He was a Nazi contractor. But, I mean, like, the bad guys are white Europeans from Germany. And America, and England, and France, and Croatia, and all of the other European countries that go to Davos. But the point is, there are horrible, horrible, horrible people of every single race, and every religion. There are bad people in every group. To simply assume that everyone in that group is bad because there's a few bad apples is insane. Was there any part of the Tartaria video you thought might be even a little bit believable? I will say this, there have been Tartaria videos from other people that said things that I was like, all right, maybe you're onto something. In terms of evidence that like something was part of the civilization, part of a different civilization than we thought. One great example of this is the Hittite Empire. For a very long time, we did not know that the Hittite Empire existed. We had the term Hittites in the Bible, and that was it. We thought that the people who inhabited that region were either just another, like an extension of either the Mycenaeans or the Assyrians or perhaps the Canaanites. We didn't really know for sure. And then in, I think, like 1850, we discovered distinctly Hittite artifacts, and suddenly, boom, whole new civilization we didn't know existed suddenly exists overnight. So I'm not saying that finding an ancient civilization underground that we didn't know about is impossible. We did that with Göbekli Tepe. We still don't know what's going on. I'm very curious. In fact, I feel like there might be a degree to which archaeologists are trying to hide Göbekli Tepe from the public. I can't prove that, but I have theories and opinions. So yeah, that idea that we could be missing a chapter, I agree with. I'm right there with you. Let's see. Glitter Galaxy said, I'm getting leftist vibes all the time. I don't know what I need to say to you. I've told you my voting record. Like, I'm a gun owner. I like rural communities. I don't know what else you need from me. Like, I'm also not a Fed. Okay. Do you know Eurasianism, the concept by Alexander Dugin? I've heard of it. I haven't looked into Dugin's theory specifically. Let's see. Seeing how Mind Unveiled is very much in favor of the Phoenicians being advanced, I think it would be inaccurate to represent that page as being anti-Semitic. But that's the thing, is he's saying the Phoenicians were very advanced. That's not the Jews. We're using the term, this is where semantics comes into play. If you want me to be specific, he's being anti-Jewish, in my opinion, not anti-Semitic. Let's see. In my opinion, it's the way you acted that makes people think you're a leftist. Just waving the guy off and calling him anti-Semitic is very left-wing. I don't feel like I waved him off at all. I put together a 90-minute video explaining why every single thing he said was wrong. And there was like one thing he got right, actually, I think, that I gave him credit for. But I see where you're coming from. You know, I mentioned feeling like it was anti-Semitic because it felt like it was anti-Semitic to me. That's why I mentioned it. But like I said, if he's not, I will apologize. Let's see, what else do we have? Imagine Tom DeLonge being the first to make contact with an alien species. That would be incredible. Also, Ginger, I'm not angry. I'm having a great time. You can't. What is it with people on the internet and just assuming that because people disagree with them, we're angry? Like, let's see. Dylan Vickers, you're willing to debate me? I mean, do you have a sure, I guess. I'd still prefer to go up against Mind Unveiled himself, but if you want to have a conversation about coming on the show and you can show me that you're not just going to come on and make fart noises, then sure. Do you think Charles Manson was part of the MK Ultra projects, with the Manson family being a successful test run? Yes, 100%. The CIA is quite possibly the greatest enemy of the American people to ever exist. The FBI is not far behind, but the FBI was not known to be carrying out, like weapons experiments on American citizens. I mean, there's other stuff to look at too. Like, you go into the Tuskegee experiment, which is where the government basically came in and was like, hey, it would be really cool if we infected a bunch of people with syphilis or allowed them to spread syphilis, depending on who you ask, and then just didn't treat it and just saw what happened. Nobody will care. There's the Los Alamos body snatchers, where they experimented and ran tests on people involving plutonium exposure. They did the same thing with plutonium to disabled children at MIT. They fed them plutonium-laced cereal and oatmeal just to see how it would affect disabled kids. To quote a good buddy of ours, Wendigoon, if you think the government wouldn't do that, oh yes, they would. Does that answer your questions about my political affiliations, boys and girls? Let's see. There is no argument for Tartaria. I have to agree. Let's see. Let's settle this by sending you and Mind Unveiled into the mountains, into the Appalachians on a Winn-Dixie hunt. The one who walks out is the king of conspiracies. That's a good point, Molten Amber. Yeah, the Trump-Russia thing would be an example of a left-wing conspiracy. Let's see. Yeah, them attacking you and not the argument about Tartaria doesn't help the case. I agree with that. Question. Will you look into the Khazarian interactions with the Americas? Anyone who is more than superficially interested in the Tartaria theory will have come across the actual empire of Khazaria. I will look into it, but see if you're talking about the same thing I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm assuming you're talking about the ethnic group, right? I was looking to see if there was like something I missed, but so far as I understand, we're talking about the Khazar Khaganate, like the medieval Khazar state that preceded the Mongol invasions, I think. But yeah, I'll look into it, but Tartars, Turks, or Mongols interacting with the Americas, plausible. I would be surprised if there's evidence that there were like diplomatic envoys being sent from any Khanate. And before anybody freaks out about me saying Tartars existed, yes, there is an ethnic group known as the Tartars. They're a semi-nomadic horseback riding group of people from the Eurasian steppe. They were included amongst the Mongol hordes and the Turkic hordes. Let's see. We want more videos on conspiracies on secret societies that run the world, like the Bohemian Club. We just put out a video on the Bohemian Grove a couple weeks ago. We have one on the Illuminati from about a month ago. We have one on the Manson family. We have one on Heaven's Gate. We've got one on Freemasonry coming out this summer. Full transparency, I'm a 3rd degree Master Mason, 4th degree York Rite, Mark Master. So you're probably going to watch the Freemasonry one. A lot of you are probably going to watch it and be like, oh, well, I can't believe anything this guy says. He's a Mason. But Aiden will be there too, and he's not. So, breather. I don't know that I would consider spirit science left-wing. I think spirit science is like ascended level. Like, that is beyond conspiracy. Who built the huge ornate buildings that we can't recreate today? The same type of structures all over the world, genius. Which ones are you talking about? What buildings? That is my question. Because if you can give me a building, I can look at it. And if you're wondering why we have Romanesque architecture all over the world, like neoclassical, it's because everybody wanted to imitate Rome. Because Rome was like the greatest empire of all time up until the British Empire. Let's see. You and Mind Unveiled should box like Logan and KSI to settle this. You already. I would go to Creator Clash to box Mind Unveiled. I think that would be funny. Let's see. What else do we have here? History is his story. Winners of war make history. Like we went to the moon, it's his story. No, history is historia translated into, or evolved into English. Historia is a Greek word meaning to understand or investigate the past. I understand the whole, history is written by the victors thing. The thing that isn't written by the victors is archaeology. Which is part of the problem here. Is that the archaeology makes a lot of this stuff very obviously false. There's also one thing that he said in the video that I really need to harp on, which is the idea, he suggests that there was no advancement or continuation in art, architecture, music, literature between the fall of Rome and like 1400 AD. That is not true. That is completely patently false. Also, a lot of the stories that were written do not make sense if you believe in the Tartaria stuff. Like Beowulf. At one point, he also says that the Roman Empire contracted the English to wipe out Ireland. Which, I'm not sure where to begin with that one, because the Roman Empire may have landed like an envoy in Ireland once. We're not sure. It's possible. They probably encountered people from Ireland who were trading in Britain, but as far as we know, they never went to Ireland in force. Maybe some merchants. And then, of course, there's the fact that England did not come to exist until, in what the earliest thing you could describe as England didn't come to exist until a full 200 years after the fall of Rome. We actually have a lot of writing from that time where people are like, this place must have been inhabited by giants. We could never build this stuff. Let's see. What else we have? Tartarians all rode dragons and had white hair, duh. Yeah, Tartarian and Targaryen. That's actually... oh my god, I do wonder. Because he never really describes what the doom of Valyria was, does he? He just kind of says that it happened and that the whole world was, thrown asunder. I bet Corn Pop is from Tartaria. Pax said, speaking of conspiracy theories of the left, you should look up Possadism. It is essentially apocalyptic UFO communism. All right. What else do we have here? Someone says giants, Wendigoon appears out of nowhere. All right. Do I believe we went to the moon? Yeah, it would have been a lot harder to fake the moon landing than to get to the moon with the technology that we had at the time, in my opinion. Also keeping that under wraps would have been insane. I've never seen a convincing argument that we didn't go to the moon. That is where I'll put it. And I have a light on. It's over here. Also, probably going to have to wrap this up in 15 minutes, just a heads up. Let's see. What else do we have here? What about the Egyptian sarcophagus found in Japan? All right. Haven't heard of that one. Is in Japan. Why dozens of samurai took a photo in front of Egypt's Great Sphinx. The discovery of a pyramid-shaped tomb in Japan. All right. That's ancient origins, so that's not reliable at all. Okay, so the first thing that comes up that's an actual article is ancient origins, and that links to an article in the Japan Times that is no longer up. So let's see if we can find anything. Mail and Guardian. Japanese archaeological team has discovered 3 painted wooden coffins in Egypt. Okay, Japanese. So that's Japanese archaeologists finding a sarcophagus in Egypt. I think I'd need more information to find this because it's not coming up. At least not right now. I can look into it more, after the stream, but I'm not finding anything with that in it. Look into the multi-regional hypothesis of human evolution. It's exactly what you're talking about, but the out of Africa theory is the only accepted dogma in academia. Yeah, I mean, anthropology is getting into, being outside of my realm, but that said, I think that the idea that here's what I'll say about that. We know that Neanderthals had some pretty advanced fire making techniques. We're probably never going to know everything that the Neanderthals were up to and that they were capable of, but they were doing stuff in Europe a lot longer ago than we thought they were. And I'm not saying that they were in Europe longer ago than we thought. I'm saying they were more industrious than we thought. Then there's also the Denisovans, who are very far away from Africa. They may have been more advanced than we thought. So I think the idea that Homo sapiens sapiens is as distinct as it is from Neanderthals, Denisovans, and possibly other hominids. I wouldn't be surprised if that gets revised in the future. But I do believe that the idea that the first early hominids were in Africa makes sense. I wouldn't be surprised by that. But again, if new information were to come to light that really blew that wide open, I would absolutely be willing to change my beliefs. Aiden, can you have a poll taken with everyone putting if they're from here or Mind Unveiled? Yeah, I can do that. Wait, no, I can't. Wait, maybe I can go over how I should be able to do this somewhere, right? Live. Pause. Let's see. Start poll. How'd you get to this stream? Lore Lodge Mind Unveiled. There we go. This is not asking who you think is better or right. This is asking how you got here. Let's see. Aiden, keep an open mind. It would be nice if you and Mind Unveiled collabed. Again, he is welcome to come on the show. And I would be even willing to do a video with him about actual lost civilizations. But there will not be a video of me agreeing with him on the whole theory. That's just not going to happen. Let's see. All right. Emily Dalberti said, have you heard of the Fresno Nightcrawlers? They're pretty wild cryptids. I have. Personally, I think that one was probably just a hoax, but I thought it was a funny one. Like, pretty harmless, just some giant pants walking around Fresno. Let's see. I got skipped down a whiles. All right. Fandom Maniac said, I'm sure you saw the TikTok. Oh, Momlennial? Oh yeah, go check out my TikTok page. I was in a Momlennial and I were going at it. There's probably like an hour's worth of TikToks of me debunking Momlennial. I know he puts her on screen at some point in the response video, so we'll probably insert some of my videos debunking Momlennial into the response video to Mind Unveiled. Have you seen the eye-like structure in Mauritania? Yes, the Eye of the Sahara, the Rashat structure. That is a collapsed volcanic dome. There is evidence that humans were in it at some point. I don't think it works for Atlantis. There's a number of reasons for that. It's not that I'm saying that Atlantis wasn't real, because I do think Atlantis probably existed, and it might just not have been what we conceive of it of. But it's got, if we want to go into the reasons why people say it is Atlantis, like Jimmy Corsetti says that it has the proper dimensions, but the problem is it doesn't. It does not have the proper dimensions. Hang on, I'm just gonna close a window over here. I think he says it's like 225 stadia by something. It's actually like 395 stadia by something. It's also Plato gets the dating right for Meltwater Pulse 1b. So if we're assuming he got that right, can we assume he got the geography right too? Maybe. He says that it's beyond the Pillars of Heracles, and Mauritania would not be beyond the Pillars of Heracles. He says it's in the Atlantic Ocean. Let's see. If the Roman Empire did indeed encounter what they consider to be an advanced if the Roman Empire did indeed encounter what they considered to be an advanced society living on the southern part of Europe after the flood of Doggerland, would they not empower the locals? I'm not entirely sure I understand the question. So Doggerland, I believe, went under around 7,000 years ago, gradually. I'm not sure what you mean by empower the locals, though, because the Gauls were there. Let's see. Yeah, the multi-regional hypothesis of human evolution. I'll definitely look into that, because that just interests me. Like, I find that's an interesting theory to me. Do I believe in the Hanabu? All right, I'm gonna need to look that one up. Hanabu German airship. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't heard of this. That's interesting. One of their attempted jet designs looks like an A-wing from Star Wars. But yeah, I can't find a ton of information on it. But I'll see what it's a German flying saucer. I can look into it. I know the Germans were working on a lot of weird stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if designs exist or even prototypes. But again, you know, whether or not one was ever built or functional stands to be seen. As for where they got the ideas, for me, I'm still iffy on aliens. I'm willing to believe, but I don't currently, if that makes sense. Let's see. Swan Lake bound in the Mississippi Delta. I have heard of that. I don't have a ton of thoughts on it, like, off the top of my head. Valeria's fall. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. It's something like volcanic eruptions and magic gone wrong. Let's see. And then I'm going to scroll down towards the bottom to try and get anything that's just come in. Josh Watts, there are pyramids all over the world. This is another thing that people mix up, because a lot of these pyramids are not really as similar as people think they are. Part of the issue is that pyramids are one of the most stable ways to build a tall structure if you don't have like steel reinforcement beams. So the Egyptians were the reason we have all these pyramids. It's kind of like survivorship bias, you know. When planes used to come back, when bombers used to come back to base in World War II, what they would do is they would look at the planes, see where a lot of bullets went through, and reinforce those areas. Now, what they weren't realizing was that the planes that were making it back actually had armor in the right places, and they needed to armor up the places where the planes that weren't getting back were getting shot. So they had to change things around. It's the same kind of thing. We see all these pyramids and we go, oh man, there's all these pyramids. Like, the same people must have built them. No, it's that independently all over the world, they realized this is the best structure. It's also how, the bow and arrow was recreated all over the world. The spear was created all over the world multiple times. There's plenty of different things that have been invented over and over and over again. I believe the plow, I think saddles as well. Let's see. Come on. My chat's frozen. Let me see if I can go over to this side and catch it on the YouTube side of things instead. All right. Viewer activity. There we go. Man, this is not. There we go. Now it's working. What else do we have? Pyramids on the sun. For Tartaria to exist, it would imply that pretty much all of known history is a lie, which would be pretty impressive considering it's had to be changed in living memory. I mean, it was the same issue I had with the millennial stuff. Also, I'll point this out. Nennius, historian writing in, I want to say, the 9th century. It was either the 8th or the 9th century. He writes about the history of the whole world, including the Scythians coming over. So that would mean that a monk writing for a church that totally hijacked Irish history was writing during a period that didn't exist and saying things that contradict the Catholic Church's narrative. It's not the Scythian part specifically. It's so right. If the Catholic Church rewrote history, right, and they did it recently, why does one of their historians from like 830 AD have a completely incorrect account of how it was that the British Isles were populated? Why would they deliberately put wrong information in there? If they were trying to make themselves seem credible, that doesn't seem like the right thing to do, you know? Let's see. And I will say this much. A lot of people were like, oh, Mind Unveiled, you were kind of rude to him in your video. And I'll admit, I could have been nicer. But I will say this. He's basically calling every historian in the world either part of the cover-up or stupid. He doesn't say historians are stupid, but he does say historians are unable to figure this out or are lying to you. And I do take offense to that. I would love to talk to Randall Carlson. I would have so much fun talking to Randall Carlson. It's Vatnak says King Atlas was the king of North Africa, so maybe he meant the land of King Atlas, and also Mauritania is west of the Pillars of Heracles. I think maybe Atlantis was a North Africa or Maghreb civilization. There's also the fact that he says it was an island. You also need to understand that Africa, when they write about that, they're referring to just North Africa, not the rest of it. Listen, could he have been making a mistake and he was getting King Atlas and Mauritania mixed up with the Atlantic and everything? It's possible. I look at it and I just don't see the evidence, especially because there's no evidence of like large scale human civilization there. And it's nowhere near the floodplain of Meltwater Pulse 1b. So it would have had to be a completely separate flooding event that took it out at the same time as a global flooding event, which I would find odd. It actually kind of would help if the questions were asked in all caps, but then I have a feeling that a lot of comments would be also in all caps. We'll figure out a better way to do this. Do you think people believe completely wrong conspiracies out of the desire to have something more out of life or an enemy to blame their problems on? I'm sure there's an aspect of that, but I think more than anything what it is what happened to me with Skinwalkers, Wendigos, Fleshgate, all of that stuff. When I first started making content, I kind of came at it from look at all these different civilizations around the world, or not around the world, look at all these different tribes across the United States. They all have similar stories of these cannibalistic monsters that stalk out in the woods. Maybe something real is there. And what that led me to was doing a whole lot of research and discovering that, yeah, there are some similarities between the Skinwalker and the Wendigo, but they're not as related as I thought, and that forced me to rethink some things. So I think most conspiracy theories, the well-meaning ones, you can see Archie in the background, The ones that aren't from a place of, trying to mislead people, I think for the most part, those conspiracy theories come from people having part of the information and then either not having the skills or the resources to find more information that connects the dots that don't seem connected to them. So I think it's people trying to draw connections that aren't necessarily there because they're lacking information. But I'm sure that sometimes it is the monotony of day-to-day existence. We'd all like to believe that something more interesting is going on. That said, I think a lot of the stuff that is going on is interesting and just needs to be talked about better. Do you think that all of the stuff in the Bible do you think the stuff in the Bible was all figurative? No, I do think that there's allegory and symbolic language in the Bible in some places, but other things are also very clearly supposed to be recounting events. David and Goliath is recounting an event. You could make the argument that Genesis 1 is a poem about God creating the universe, but not necessarily supposed to be an exact account of how things happened. I don't necessarily take that belief, but there are stories here and there where it's like something's probably symbolic. And then if you look at Revelation, Revelation is entirely symbolism. Not entirely, but a lot of symbolism. Has this been brief so far? Yeah, brief on the Lore Lodge is usually about an hour. In fact, I'm now beyond where I meant to go. But let me see. What do I think happened to Amelia Earhart? Amelia Earhart, I have questions about. I think it's possible she really did just go down over the ocean. I will say this much. I used to think the people who were like Helen Keller was like a fraud or a hoax or totally made up or something are full of it. And then I actually looked into the Helen Keller thing and I was like, I have questions about this actually, because she was like 18 months old when she went blind and deaf. And I'm like, could she really have learned how to do all that if she couldn't read yet? Like, how does that work? Maybe. I'm not an expert on blindness or deafness, but I will say that Helen Keller has me a little befuddled. I just haven't done enough to look into it, though. Let's see. To answer Zach Butler's question, starting Tuesday, yes, I will be watching through the entire 2-hour response video from Mind Unveiled to my video. I haven't watched it yet. I'm doing that so that I don't come into it, having the answers. I want you guys to see me react to this live. I want you to watch the process. I want you to see how I think, and I want you to see how I explain it. And I'll get to what's left of the super chats in just a second. How did I get interested in masonry? Same reason I've gotten interested in most things. I saw a lot of conspiracy theories about it. I was curious, and I decided to join. I also had just watched National Treasure, and I wrote a couple of research papers on the Templars in college. So I figured, what's the best way to find out what Freemasonry is all about? Become a Freemason. I am currently enjoying it. For the most part, it seems to me to be a brotherhood of like-minded men who are mostly, family-oriented, a lot of people who are small business owners, and are generally more interested in, working together to improve their own community rather than relying on the federal government to do it for them. So a lot more, it is typically more conservative, libertarian-leaning people. Let's see, show you guys the boy. All right, I'm going to show you guys Archie, and then I will get to the last super chats, and then I got to hop off to play video games with my friends because I am a normal young adult. But yeah, let me see. And also, I probably should do a quick shout out to both my father and my stepfather because it is Father's Day, and I would not be here in multiple senses without either of you. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for giving me two incredible father figures to rely on in my life. I am so incredibly blessed and lucky, and I hope I've made you both proud. With that said, Archie, come hither. Come here, buddy. He usually does as he's told. Archie, come on. Come on. Come here. Come see the people. Come see the people. Come say hello. Come say hello. Archie no longer has teeth. I think I told you guys this, but he had to have 37 of his 42 teeth removed due to gum disease, which is weird because he's only 4.5. But the vet said that it's apparently just a genetic thing with his breed, and like it just happens with this dog breed. So anyway, this is my boy. He's very nice. I can try and get him to do the awoo for you guys if you want. Do you see the beep? Do you see him? Look at him. Look at him over there. Let me switch it to the music screen so you can actually hear him. But Archie, you want to give him a howl? Want to give him an awoo? Oh, oh! Good boy. Good boy. He's such a good dog. I love him so much. He's such a fluffy. Look at this little man. Look at him. You want some food? You hungry? Want some dinner? Okay. All right, let me get to these last super chats really quick. Oh boy. There are a few in here that I missed. Okay. Let me bring these guys over onto this screen. All right. I got Fandom Maniacs. Ryan said, not a ton to give tonight, just passing along $5.21 in Mothman money and a thank you for all you do as well as a happy Father's Day. Well, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate anything. It means a lot. Jack Garcia, who has jacked up kicks on Instagram. He designed some very special Lore Lodge custom vans that you can order from him. They look really, really cool. And I would encourage, we're doing our unboxing video tomorrow, and that'll be posted on my Instagram, Lore Lodge Instagram, everywhere. So if you want to check that out, that'll be up soon. He said, I'm on my way to vacation. I just entered Ohio and I feel sick now. Here at the Lore Lodge, we hate Ohio. We hate on Ohio at all opportunities. But I would if I'm being honest, I would much rather vibe with somebody from Ohio than like New Jersey. Because I don't feel safe driving in New Jersey as a Pennsylvanian. Heavy Burn Man said Aiden is a closeted Jew, confirmed. Good lord. Phantom Maniacs payment member. Thank you. You and my, yeah, I read that one. Pax, okay, got that one. Emily Dalberti got that one. Kellen, the official data, said, if the Egyptians weren't trading with Native Americans, then why is the point where the Ohio and Mississippi meet named Cairo, Illinois? Some of the Tartaria videos on TikTok actually do ask that question sincerely. I feel like the biggest problem with Tartaria is that people don't feel history is interesting enough. We need more fun historical games like AC. Agreed. History teachers need to be historians, not education majors. And this is not to hate on the education majors, but when you've got somebody who doesn't care at all about history and is just teaching it to get it out of the way, great, you're passionate about educating people, but if you're not passionate about history, you're not going to do the extra work to really love it and make it interesting for your students. And I'm not saying that all education majors fail to do that. I'm sure there are some education majors who are very interested in history and love it, and some who go into education to teach history. But a lot of history teachers, just because of the way the education system works, are people who don't really care about history and they're just teaching it because it's the job. We need to make history fun for people. And I that's what I try to do with this channel, is to give you guys a fun but honest historical lesson, or folklore, or whatever we're talking about for the day. Are you familiar? Bobcat said, are you familiar with the pre-Columbus Welsh colony somewhere in Appalachia? I've heard of it. God, what was the name? Malwyn, something like that. A supposed Welsh colony that was started, I think, in like the 1200s. I've heard of it. Academics basically say no. I'm not willing to say no until I look into it deeply, but yeah, I can look into that one. And I mean, I love Welsh history, so I can happily look into that one for you and maybe even make a video about it. I would love for that to be true. I would also love for it to be true that the Vikings got further than the Lanzo Meadows. Paladins Templar said, it's time for a Tartarian crusade, Dave's Volt. Oh boy. Some of the Tartarian conspiracies claim that, I think Fomenko it might be, claims that the Trojan War and the Crusades were the same event, just copied over later in history. We have archaeological evidence of them both, and the steel armor used in the Crusades is not the bronze armor used at Troy. I don't know if we found armor at Troy yet, but if you look at the two, it's very clear that these are from different cultures and different time periods. Rapto said, hope your day is going well. Can't wait for the next weird Bible. Thoughts on Ecclesiastes? I haven't read Ecclesiastes in such a long time, to be honest with you. But since you asked about it, we'll make the next weird Bible episode about Ecclesiastes. We were going to do Solomon, but I want to take a break from David and Solomon because we've been talking about it so much. I also want to read Ars Geisha and the Lesser Key of Solomon and then talk about Solomon because I just feel like you gotta. Let's see. Swadank said, okay, I got that one. Have you heard of Operation High Jump? Yes, I did a TikTok video on it a while ago. There's quite a bit to it that does not generally get discussed, but there's some stuff about how if like Bird's original journal entry does not say the same thing as the book that his son wrote, and so there's questions about what his son invented. I think it was his son. Might have been his partner. But yeah, Operation High Jump happened, but it was I'm hesitant to say Operation High Jump was a secret mission over Antarctica. And I did see your super chat about Egyptians, Kellen. Now I have, at least. Kira Thomas became a member. Thank you. I appreciate you. Merton0083 said, on history not being interesting enough, watch Assassin's Creed 2 Apple of Eden puzzles. That still gives me goosebumps. I actually went out of my way on my replay of Assassin's Creed 2 back in 2021. I went out of my way to do all of the Apple of Eden puzzles, and it was so much fun. I loved those stories. I had a great time. And I think that video games are a perfect medium for teaching history. I credit the fact that I am doing this today to the fact that I played Total War and Mount and Blade obsessively in high school. I loved those games. I think I've said this before. My first video game that I remember playing is Age of Empires 2, The Age of Kings. And I played it with my dad when I was like 4 or 5. So I got very invested in history from a young age because of video games, and I did well in history classes in high school because of video games. I think that if we're not using video games to teach history, we're making a mistake, because the thing is, if you give your students homework, which is, hey, play through, chapters 2 and 3 of, War of the Roses so you can learn about it, a lot more kids are going to do that homework than, hey, go read these 3 chapters of a textbook. Or if they say, hey, go watch this YouTube video by Wendigoon or by Mr. Ballin or something like that to learn about this event that happened. Way more interesting. Durakin, that's a good point, too, that they don't really, I don't think it gets brought up in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood that Cesare Borgia is actually one of the models for the Jesus we see today. And yes, Dylan, Clovis First was broken. It's on its way out now. Let's see. Have you ever looked into the Kensington Runestone? I haven't in depth, mainly because I have heard my entire academic career that it's a fraud, but I'm willing to look into it. Because like the Dare Stones, there were thousands of Dare Stones found in Virginia and North Carolina that it turned out were fake, but hidden amongst them was one Dare Stone that appears to be real because it actually uses the correct spelling, language, the right grammar and diction, or to an extent, for a person writing in the 1580s. And Kellen, the official data, said, Happy Father's Day to all except the ATF. They're not real people. You, sir, are correct, but I'm glad that we all got to hang out here and, give this update. I guess I really did end up doing a full episode of the Lore Lodge tonight, even though I didn't intend to. But good news is you'll get a full another episode tomorrow with me and Aiden here. So, yeah, that's what I have to say. And I will be live reacting all week on Twitch to Mind Unveiled's response video, because if his if 30 minutes of his video took me an entire week to debunk, I'm pretty sure it's going to take me a solid 9 hours to get through this 2-hour response video. But on Friday, I do use Sub I Drink, by the way, so that'll be even more fun. But yeah, so also just to quickly address what I am guessing is probably a comment about anti-Semitism. Chuck in Chambers said, I feel like I should also point out the acknowledgement of the crimes of a race that have the purpose of racial supremacy is not a racist action in and of itself. I would argue with you that Judaism has a purpose of racial supremacy, and that is a very, very deeply misunderstood reading of what God's chosen people means. It's not a racial supremacy thing. There are allegedly some passages of the Babylonian Talmud that are racist, but just because one guy wrote that and some Jews believe it doesn't make it universal. But I also, from what I understand, that might be a mistranslation or a fraud. To be honest, I haven't read the Talmud because I look at it like the Quran personally. It's post Second Temple, which is not to say that I don't respect the right of Jews to believe in it, but I don't. I'll look at it as a commentary. But yeah, to ascribe to say the crimes of a racial group itself is part of the problem here. There's a racial group can't commit crimes. Members of a racial group can commit crimes. But an entire racial group committing crimes seems be a difficult thing to organize, wouldn't it? You'd either need to be a very small or a very organized race of people. And I know you're saying, Jews are a small, organized race of people, but 14 million people is not small. Jizzlord, I did. You can say I didn't, but unless you're going to give me what I got wrong and why I got it wrong, don't tell me I'm wrong. Or do, but don't expect me to be like, shucks, he got me. But yeah, so, that's it. Like I said, though, if you got something that I got wrong, comment it, and I will, if I look through the comments. I am one of the creators that looks through the comments, so I'll go through. But sorry, I'm still. Okay, you're referring to a group of them. All right, I see where you're coming from. I'm just not sure I agree still, but I understand what you're saying, I guess. But let's see, what else do we have? Is there anything? But I haven't been paying attention to chat too much. I'm not trying to call anybody in chat anti-Semitic. I'm just trying to make sure that I address things that might be spicy enough for YouTube to get mad at me. Because YouTube does get mad at me. Just thought Clovis First was a misunderstanding. Clovis First is one of the reasons I hate mainstream archaeology. Also, I do think it's funny that I was called a mainstream historian after my video on Graham Hancock, where I basically am I think Graham's generally right, but I think his conclusions are a little off. You learn history from Age of Empires. I learned history from Italia. One of us deserves to be beaten with a stick. It's me. I also am curious about the Sphinx. I would be willing to believe there's more to it, but currently I don't think that there's strong evidence that there is more to it. But also, we've been unable to get under the thing. So, at least as far as I'm aware, I'm not a scholar of Egyptology. That's just what I understand to be the case. Blink 3 times if the CIA is watching you with a big goofy camera right now. Not as far as I'm aware. And Dylan, as for masonry, sure. I will, I'm going to be doing a stream on it probably August or September. It depends on when we are able to get into the Masonic Temple to film. We've already basically gotten permission. We just need to give them the actual plan. And then we're going to have a dedicated tour guide. We might get to sit down with the Grand Master, which would be awesome. And we're going to talk through it. And the thing is, as far as masonry goes, I'm not the type to shy away or hide from stuff. There's stuff about certain Masonic doctrines of the Scottish Rite that I don't love, that I'm not sure I agree with. There's stuff that Manly P. Hall wrote that I don't love and that I don't agree with. But the beauty of Freemasonry as an organization is that I'm allowed to disagree. That none of these guys were, authoritative on the core aspects of masonry, which is the first 3 degrees. So, but yeah, sheesh, I keep trying. I keep trying to finish this. But it just keeps on, getting circled back because I keep letting myself get sucked back in. But I do have to end it. I gotta eat some food, and I gotta hop on COD with my buddies. And before you yell at me for playing Call of Duty and how that makes me a leftist, it's a free to play game. So just don't even. All right. Oh wait, but I did not take a look at the poll. All right, 97% of you got here from Lore Lodge. Interesting. I mean, I posted it on Lore Lodge, so I was assuming there wouldn't be a ton of Mind Unveiled people in here, but it is what it is. So, all right, that is going to be it for tonight. But yeah, let's if you guys want, I can absolutely do one of these for Freemasonry if you want to ask me questions. I was thinking about doing a either monthly or bi-weekly like Q&A stream anyway. So if that's something you guys want me to do, let's do it. But that said, for those of you who are from Mind Unveiled's channel, who stuck around, who asked questions, who, did at least have some curiosity, thank you. Genuinely. I'm glad that you were able to come here, maybe have a conversation in the comments with my followers, and I hope that you learned something. I hope that you understand where I'm from a little bit better. And you know what? I do hope I'm wrong about Mind Unveiled and the anti-Semitism aspect, because I would much prefer to believe that I can disagree with this person and have it solely be about what they said and not who they are. And you know what? Maybe I'll edit that section out of the video. If that would, in fact, you know what? Maybe I'll talk to Aiden about it. Might be possible for us to edit out that comment, because you guys seem pretty certain I was wrong. So you know what? I'll do it. I will, if I can find a way to edit that section out, I will do it. That will be my concession. I am still waiting on Mind Unveiled to get back to me about the Holocaust. But when he does, I will know. That said, thank you guys so much for hanging out, and I'll see you tomorrow. Wait, just really quick. One good point was made. I would rather play Battlefield, but my friends don't want to. And when you grow up and everybody moves away, you gotta agree on a video game.